Do any other child-free people who have to work for a living, when you're talking to a stay-at-home parent who's fully financially supported by their partner, if you're out here just like fighting for your life, like you were talking to this parent who's literally doing this job that nobody even made them do, who cannot get fired, there's no barrier to entry. When you were talking to them and they say being a parent is the hardest job in the world, like, do you ever sort of just feel like...
Hey guys, today we're talking about a TikTok comedian named Julia Austin, who is a child-free by choice woman, which, let me say, I love that. I love women getting to choose their own paths in life. They don't have to get married and have children just to survive, and I love that. And I love that if you don't want to have kids, you don't have to, and you get to do what you want. Everyone should be allowed to make those type of decisions. Not kids and a husband, but that's just something that happened. Yes, I wanted kids, I wanted a husband, but if that didn't happen for me, I would have been accepting of that. And that's because I love myself. Anytime I'm scrolling through social media and I see a video of a woman saying, hey, I'm 36, I'm child-free by choice, and this is what I do in my spare time, and she's spending her own money on herself, I'm the first one in the comments.
Yes, queen, slay, slay, slay your enemies.
There will be people in the comments being negative, probably a man, and telling her that she's gonna be lonely, she's gonna die alone with her cats, whoop-de-woo, I have 5 cats, whatever. You could die alone on the toilet like Elvis, it really doesn't matter. But that's not because of moms. So this lady, Julia Austin, has seemed to make it a point to direct all her anger about the inconveniences for child-free people at moms. Specifically stay-at-home moms for some reason, but also with moms who work and they get time off more than me because they have to go home and be with their kids. Let's get into the first video that I saw that irritated me.
Do any other child-free people who have to work for a living, when you're talking to a stay-at-home parent who's fully financially supported by their partner, if you're out here just like fighting for your life, like you were talking to this parent who's literally doing this job that nobody even made them do, who cannot get fired, there's no barrier to entry.
You cannot get fired. There's no barrier to entry. Just completely dismissive of what women go through, what parents go through. Any parent could get fired from the job of parenting. CPS could come take your kids, you could get a divorce, now you're part-time, or if you're a terrible parent for some reason and the other parent could take full custody, it depends. You could get fired just the way you could get fired from a real job. You could get fired from parenting. There's no barrier to entry. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost died with my 3rd kid, but there's no barrier to entry. I now have autoimmune disorder and my organs are forever dislodged and in different places, and I can feel it when I sit down too hard. But there was no barrier to entry. I'm sure all the women who have suffered terrible pregnancies, miscarriages, infertility, IVF, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, I think IVF starts at $20,000, correct me if I'm wrong. Just all of the horrible things. Women lose their teeth.
I've had a lot of people asking me why and how I don't have teeth at the ripe age of 33. Well, let me tell you, it's because of kids, all right? I was pregnant with my daughters and they took all of the calcium out of my body. Not only did they take the teeth out of my head, but they did help me out a little bit by taking calcium deposits that I had all around my body, like in my fingers and in my toes and in my knees.
Because the baby took all the calcium. No barrier to entry is wild and so disrespectful. Why can't you just
talk about how much you love your own life?
As a child-free by choice woman, what is with the disrespect? No barrier to entry.
When you were talking to them and they say being a parent is the hardest job in the world, like, do you ever sort of just feel like...
Why? There's certain parts about parenting that is the hardest thing to do. Emotionally. No, it's not hard to clean a sippy cup, but repetitively every single day, the mental load is really hard. And it's not the sippy cups and the diapers and the repetitive stuff. It's the stuff that breaks your heart. Like my youngest, for example, and I'm blessed that this is the only thing that's wrong. She has a speech delay. And that is really hard emotionally for me to just always be worried about, is she gonna still have a speech delay when she's this age, this age, this age? Is it gonna affect her life? And there's parents that suffer a loss, God forbid, or something terrible happens to their kid, or their kid is going through something really hard. That's emotionally difficult. And then not only that, you have to pay for everything. You know how expensive kids are. You have to take on their mental loads, their pain, their education. But in addition to that, it's tedious. It's time consuming. And being pregnant and giving birth, not to dismiss women who have adopted or used surrogacy. I'm adopted myself, because I'm sure just the fact of having a little kid around drains your mental power. But pregnancy and birth, oh my God, I can't remember anything. What am I even talking about right now? I don't remember. Oh yeah, this I don't like. So it's just disrespectful. Like, I have never heard of a parent who feels that being a parent is the hardest thing that they've ever done. Going up to a veteran of a war, clearly that was a hard job. His job was to be in the military, make a video about a war veteran who was injured in action and be like, oh, did you think that was hard? Being a mom is the hardest. Can you believe that veteran said that being in the military was the hardest job? We're not competing with each other. Because yes, there's physically hard jobs that people have also lost. Body parts, brain functions, etc. Police officer. But moms and those physically demanding job people are not like going at each other's throats, I feel. I feel like I respect them and what they did, and they respect moms and what they do. There's no online discourse. There might be some incels in some comments disrespecting moms, being like, that's not the hardest job. What about a Marine? But that incel is not a Marine. The Marine is just respecting what the mom does, and the mom is respecting what the Marine does. But then this lady who's a comedian, do you have the hardest job?
What are you doing that's
the hardest job that you get to sit there and criticize a mom feeling like raising her kids, risking my health and life to birth them, for one, the potential trauma you could have because you could have a miscarriage, you could have a stillbirth. There's all these terrible things that could happen that weigh on your mind. Not to mention that with my first labor, I pooped while I was birthing him, and everyone saw. Sorry, I digress. But what is your job? Did you just come on TikTok just to say that, to be disrespectful? What is with the oppression Olympics? You aren't even in the game. You're a TikTok comedian. Oh, you didn't get time off? Oh, I'm so sorry. Did Susie, the mom, get time off over you? Your life is so hard. Okay, she goes on to make videos about how her friends with children do this to her. Her friends with children inconvenience her in this, that, and the other way. Why are those people friends with you? If my loved one has a baby, if I'm choosing to stay in their life as a friend, that child is now part of my village. I'm one of the villagers, okay? Her attitude is not that. Her attitude is, you've brought a child into our child-free village. You're inconveniencing the child-free village as opposed to my village is growing. It's very selfish, and that's okay. You can be selfish as a child-free person. But why are you bothering these friends with kids? Because you're obviously too selfish to extend the love, I would assume, that you have for that friend to their kid. I'm not saying you have to invite their kid to everything. Let me show you the way she talks about it. Parents censored me, a child-free person, around their kids. Is that okay? So she's talking about being at an event that is not a child-free event, and she's sitting with acquaintances. So maybe she's trying to distance herself in her relationship to these people, but these are adults in her circle whose children are present, and she starts talking about marijuana. Mind you, I think she made all this up. But she's saying her acquaintances told her to please stop talking about marijuana in front of their kids. First of all, you could just say plants. Anyway, so she's offended by that because, well, I have an equal right to be here and talk about what I want. Okay, fine, but you didn't have to sit at the table with the kids.
So I was at a barbecue recently, and I was sitting with this group, and this couple had kids, and I was talking about, let's just say, a green leafy substance that you do not necessarily eat. And the couple with kids was like, hey, would you mind not talking about that around our kids? It kind of annoyed me because I was like, you guys, we're not like at a play place or a kid's birthday party. We're at a mostly adult function where you chose to bring your kids. Yeah, you can ask me not to talk about certain things, I guess, because we're in the same social group, but you could be out at the grocery store with them.
We're in the same social group. Yeah, those people probably think you're their friends, and so they can ask you for little favors which mildly inconvenience you. Please don't talk about that in front of my kids, because I don't want my 4-year-old to go to school and say the word marijuana. I'm sorry.
Or a gas station, and they're gonna hear some stuff. You kind of just have to be prepared to explain some stuff to them if you're gonna take them out in.
We are, as parents, we're prepared to explain stuff to them, but we're also prepared to try to protect them when we can. Protect their ears from hearing things. Mind you, I don't care if my kids hear the word marijuana or say the word marijuana. I don't smoke marijuana. My husband doesn't smoke marijuana. If they say the word marijuana, I really don't care. And I would explain to them what it was. But I just feel like this lady is very, very selfish because she puts the needs of herself over her friends' children, but continues to associate with these people. You are not entitled to a child-free world, and you're at the age where people have kids. That's life, that's society, and I commend you for following your truth, which is I don't want children. You should prioritize your child-free friends. It's not a party, it's not a bar. You're out into society that you said it's not a child-free event, and it annoyed you because you're so selfish. If I'm sitting by kids, I wouldn't start talking about marijuana in the first place, weirdo.
The world. I don't think I should have to censor myself that much around kids, especially at things that are not kid functions. Do you guys agree?
You don't. You could have told them, no, I'm not gonna censor myself. You could have done that. You had every legal right in the world. It was not a crime. You could have kept talking about marijuana all day long, but you didn't want to because you didn't want the social ramifications of your friend not liking you anymore. That's your problem, lady. Maybe you need to get some balls and stand your ground and be like, I was here first. I don't know if she was sitting at that table first. I don't even think this story is real, to be honest, but I think that these are her real opinions, but I think
she's making up stories for views.
And on moms in the process mainly. She doesn't bring up dads very much. That's telling. You could easily have just been like, no, I'm not censoring myself because I have an equal right to be here and talk about what I want. But you didn't. Let's say this story is true. You're then turning around to the internet and talking smack about the lady, trying to make her seem like the problem. So here's her video about child-free people are expected to roll over and take it when their friends with kids let them down. Parents with kids are going to have more emergencies than you. Because when it's just you, you're the only one you have to worry about having an emergency, really, unless like your mom dies or your grandma dies and you gotta drop everything. But if you're a friend with a kid, that's 2 people that could have an emergency. Let's see what she says. I don't think I watched this one yet.
So I'm child-free, and a lot of you know I make videos about the dynamics that arise between friends who have kids with their friends who don't have kids. And every time I make one of these, people will, without fail, show up in the comments and be like, if you have a problem with the way that your friends with kids behave, you don't deserve to have them as friends. That's like a straight up ultimatum. The underlying sentiment there.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna say deserve or not deserve. If your friends with children are inconveniencing you and you don't wanna be inconvenienced, don't hang out with them anymore. You getting to have this friendship with people that you liked a lot before they had kids does not supersede
The kids' need for parents.
That's just inevitable. You're going to be inconvenienced more once someone has kids. And expecting to not be is so entitled. You're so entitled and acting like a child. I wonder if she is an only child. I am. And I know I'm selfish and entitled in some ways, and I've grown a lot, okay? My mom was just here last night, and I said something about being a special only child, and she started going on and on about it, how I was her precious princess and only child, and my husband was sitting there like, because he knows that's where I get some of my tendencies, like, this is my coffee cup, don't use it.
There is that the needs of the parents and the kids are so much more important than the needs of anyone without kids. So much more so that if you don't have kids,
what needs do you have that must supersede, that you think should supersede a parent and her child? A parent attending to her child's needs that you don't think should supersede your needs. What is your need? That they meet up with you for Sunday brunch, but then they had to cancel because their youngest kid has the flu and they have to go to urgent care? Like, that's what I'm hearing.
you're not even allowed to state your needs. And if you dare do so, you're told to just hit the road.
Yeah, if you were my friend and we had plans to go to Sunday brunch, and then I woke up that morning and my kid was throwing up, diarrhea, and I had to go to a fever, 103, and I called you and said, hey, Julia, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to reschedule because I have to take little Jimmy here to the hospital. He's throwing up, he has a fever. And you were like, oh, well, what about my needs to stick to my plans? Yeah, I would stop talking to you because you're a bitch. And you're selfish. This is her video where she talks about, I'm child free and believe parenthood is not a job, it's a lifestyle choice. And that kind of goes along the lines of a stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home mom isn't a real job. Being a parent is not a real job. So you can see a pattern. Every video is about moms and parents, not about how great her life is to be child free. She starts the video off, I'm child free by choice and this is how great my day is. It's I'm child free by choice and I think parents suck because of XYZ. I think parents are wrong for this. It's not about your child free lifestyle, which I would love for you, by the way. It's all talking about me, essentially. Me and people like me.
I'm child free and I seriously cannot stand it when parents compare being a parent to my job. Being a parent is not a job, it's a lifestyle and I'm going to prove it to you. When people are trying to have kids, they say, I want kids. They don't say, I need kids. If they were to say, I need kids, we'd probably call the authority.
People say, I want a job too. I want a job so that I could pay my rent. You have the option to go live under a bridge if you wanted to, Julia. Being employed is a lifestyle. They got food banks. If you really didn't want to work, you could mooch off people. You could panhandle and feed yourself. You don't need to work. It's a lifestyle choice to be employed.
Be like, I think there's some sort of Hansel and Gretel witch situation. What do we say when we're looking for a job? We say, I need a job. When was the last time you said, I need to have kids by the end of the month, or I don't know how I'll pay my rent?
You don't need to pay your rent. You could get evicted. It's a lifestyle choice, Julia.
When was the last time you said, I need to have kids by the end of the year, or else I'm gonna have to move back in with my parents? It's a lifestyle. It's a choice.
You're describing consequences of your lifestyle of being employed. People do say, I feel a need deep inside me. It's a biological drive that a lot of us had. Not every, but a lot of people have that biological drive that is billions of years old. That is the factor in why species continue to reproduce. It's a biological need that they have, that pretty much every species have. Even plants have it. They have this biological need to reproduce. And you could say the same, like, do I need to or I'm gonna die? Is that the baseline here? I need to have kids or I'm gonna die? No, but you don't need to have a job or you're gonna die either. You could function without a job. You could panhandle. You could steal.
I love stealing. I love taking things.
You could commit a crime on purpose and get caught to go to jail and get free housing, free medical, dental, and food. You could find someone to sponge off of. Like, you could marry a rich old man. There's so many things you could do besides have a job. You don't need to have your apartment. It's better for you to have an apartment. It's better for you to go to your job. It's better for you to pay your bills, of course. I'm not trying to say that being homeless and not having any money would be easy. I'm just showing that her comparison is illogical for her to say people don't need kids because being a parent is a lifestyle, but people need a job. No, you don't need a job or you're gonna die either.
I know there are some people who are forced into it. It's annoying when people bring that up because they know what I'm talking about. People who choose it. It's a lifestyle and that's fine, but that's what it is.
Oh, so she wants to dismiss people that are forced into being a parent, and that annoys her when people say, hey, I didn't want to have kids, I was insane or manipulated, I was groomed in a polygamy church and forced to get married and have kids. You don't want to hear about that. Or my birth control failed and I live in a state that does not allow abortion. But you don't want to talk about that, and it annoys you if anyone talks about that. I'm seeing a pattern of extreme selfishness because you're on the internet and your video is going to come across lots of types of people. But you don't want to hear from them. You don't want to hear their trauma. You just want to talk about how you're right and your way of life is right. And you should never have to be inconvenienced by children or people with children in your life, even though you want to live in the same society as them. Okay. She made one other video, I'll have to go back and find it, I don't have it right now, and then I'll post it in here, about how she does not like the fact that if your coworker has kids and you don't, they are more likely to get the time off and you're gonna be asked to cover their shift, or if they have to leave because little Timmy threw up at school or whatever, she's expected to pick up that slack.
So it's kind of a well-known thing at this point that people who have kids generally get cut more slack in the workplace, right? They can leave a little early because their kid has an appointment. They're not asked to be at the weekend event because they have to be with their family. Meanwhile, the child-free people get asked to pick up all the extra slack because they have nowhere to be, right?
And I can understand that frustration. However, that is not the mother's fault. What are you saying by saying you don't want that dynamic to exist? Because the only exception for that dynamic would be them not being able to have jobs, parents not being able to have jobs. Because yes, it's less likely for your dog to get sick or get out of the house and get hit by a car, or your mom to have a heart attack, or your grandma to die, or something where you have to leave work as well. Yes, it's less common for those events to happen. It's more common for a parent because kids get sick all the time, or maybe they are a troublemaker, get in trouble at school, or they have a doctor's appointment. You take them to the dentist once or twice a year. You have to take them to checkups once or twice a year, and XYZ. But you're mad at moms for that. You're mad at parents for that. You're mad that that inconvenience is pushed onto you at the workplace instead of your boss. So your boss is responsible for making sure shifts are covered, making sure that there's something to cover if anybody, including you, has an emergency or has to leave early. That's your boss's job. And what you're mad at is capitalism. Capitalism over lives. Because there should be a list of a couple of people that could cover. And you can say no. If your boss is like, Julia, you have to cover for Sandy because Sandy has to leave early because her kid's at school, he has 104 fever, that take him to the emergency room. You can say no. No, I also have plans after work.
Lie.
Say that you also have a kid. Say that your dog is sick. Say that your mom needs you to take her to the doctor. There's a million things you could do besides being mad at people with kids for having jobs. Because just in the way that that mom could get some other type of job that won't inconvenience other people when she has an emergency, well, you could find a different type of job where you are only required to work the hours that are put on your schedule. And if you tell your boss, no, I cannot pick up the slack, you don't get in trouble. And the thing is, with the parent, with the kid with the fever, you don't think any parent ever got fired for leaving work for an emergency? Because they have. Or calling in, hey, I'm not gonna be there, I'm taking my kid to the ER today. You don't think anyone ever got fired for that? Because they have. Before I close this video out, I just wanna say, I support child-free by choice people, men and women, but especially women, because I'm a woman and I love that women get to make that choice. I support you. If you turn 18 and want to get your tubes tied, I will always support you. I would never tell somebody, why haven't you had kids yet? Don't get your tubes tied. You might change your mind. Like, never, never, never. And the more child-free by choice women, the more excited I get, because that tells me that women are really getting to control their own lives. But my beef with this lady is the way that she makes her whole account about parents and how parents and children inconvenience her, despite the fact that she has to live in society with everybody just like everybody. So if I was her, I would change my content to what I love about being child free and talk about how you get to leave the house whenever you want, or you get to spend your money on a vacation instead of school clothes, the dentist, braces, soccer. And I know you would still get negative feedback in the comments because some people are going to hate on that. And that's a result of societal standards, the patriarchy, religion. Plus, anybody who posts anything on the internet is going to get hate. My friend has a sourdough channel. She makes sourdough starter. She makes recipes and she still gets hate comments. So everyone gets them. But it feels like this lady, I went back to her earlier videos and she did seem to make videos that was more geared towards, this is what I like about being child-free by choice. This is why I'm child-free choice. And she does not talk about parents. But those videos didn't get as many views. And then maybe she got kind of irritated at comments by moms or parents telling her she is wrong for being that way, which them. But then she turned around and directed that anger at all parents. Also seeing that she started getting more views when she would make the video more offensive. And she's probably in the creator fund on TikTok and makes money off of it. So she's exploiting this negative attitude towards parents, specifically stay-at-home moms, not caring that she's being rude and disrespectful and spreading misinformation. So I don't really care if I'm being negative towards her.
So I make a lot of content about being child-free, and I've noticed my content particularly enrages young moms, and I think there's an interesting reason for this. A lot of moms actually engage with my content, and sometimes there are thoughtful comments, and sometimes there are just nasty comments that are like, you're a mean cunt, or your husband's gonna leave you one day because you're useless and not giving him kids. I have noticed a heavy trend that the ones leaving nasty comments are young moms, like people who look maybe not even 23, 24 yet and have a couple children. Here's what I think is going on. I think deep down, really young moms know that they forfeited those important years of self-discovery, and my videos are triggering for them. Older moms, like, they will just like engage in productive conversations with me. I think that's because they did have those years of self-discovery before becoming a mother. So they feel secure in these conversations. If you're a young mom and my videos enrage you, I implore you, for the sake of your children actually, to explore that feeling. It's totally normal to wish that you had spent more years on yourself before pouring yourself into motherhood. If child-free content makes you feel anger around that, please find some way to do something for yourself, whether it's some class you take, some way of integrating more friendship in your life, because if you don't, the resentment is going to build and it's your children who are going to pay the price.
Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. Let me know what you think about child-free by choice. If you're child-free by choice, I want you to know I love you, I support you, and I think that's great. And thank you guys so much for all your support.